Ron, what is up? Thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing this work. Thank you for hanging in there. First thing, you talk about, like you're always thinking about this stuff and you're going into the weeds about thinking about these tiny things like I and you and me and, that's great. You're in the right place. That's where we live, because it matters. But I think it's important to remember that, and this is kind of where the world of video gets interesting, is that people love to theorize and ideate and talk about video things, and but action is what it's all about. So, anything you can think of, all this stuff, which I want to talk about, is great. But remember that putting it into practice is what it's all about. So anything you can think of, I want you to try and do, even after we're done doing this boot camp, because it really matters. And it's kind of like when you're getting into these intricacies, it's the intricacies of self-reflection. It's the intricacies of connection to whoever it is watching you. So great. I love it. It's funny. I'm sitting here listening to you talk about the sort of you and I dynamic. And there's this split between connecting to you and bringing you to I. And that's in the weeds, but that's great. And I think that it comes down to your personal style, your personal balance, your personal preference, because you are right. There is no substitute for the relatability of yourself to your audience. So the more you can kind of be look, here's something about me. Here's something about me. Here's how I do it. Here's, you're building an authentic connection. So I would almost say that use you, the word you. Use you as a claw. You can grab and bring people in. But once you bring them in, balance it with me. I hope this makes sense. I think you probably know what I'm trying to say. But really play with it. I mean, we could probably do an entire course just on this balance, because both are so powerful. And both are hard. I think that if you have the ability to, talk about yourself, write about yourself, make it relatable, that's a gift in it. That's a gift in itself. And this is all about giving to the audience. So thank you for making me look at that under a microscope, because I think, it's part of this new world that we are living in. So a couple things here. So you talk about when you watch your video, leaning into the camera. So it's easier to do this if we were in person, and I do this when we're in front of bigger groups. But so right now I have a relationship to the camera. It's 2 feet away, 2.5 feet away from my face. So it's my relationship to you right now. I'm going to change our relationship drastically. Wow. This just got really, really intimate, right? So it's the same thing if think about it. If you're in person, if you're standing in a room, in a coffee shop, in a bar, and you're 3 feet away, that's a relationship. When you're 6 inches away, that's a relationship, but it changes things. So I just want you to use it to your advantage. If you're leaning in, it's something that, I just want to give you full permission to play in that space. Because, it's not always appropriate for the content, but that doesn't matter. Content's content. Like, in terms of you and your presence, I want you to, play with a couple inches. I think that really it'll help get your message through. So I'm so glad you noticed that, because it comes up a lot. And when again, putting this stuff into action, when you put it into action and you just play with it and see where it works and where it doesn't work, that is part of your power. And everybody has it. It's just kind of a question of, do you want to play with it? Do you want to be using it? Teaching versus sharing a story. When you kind of talk about the difference between your two videos, that's just good. That's good to notice. They're the same thing in a way, because you are expressing information, whether it's a story about nothing or the story about an object, I think that when we go into professional mode, things can kind of shift. But I just want to encourage you to look at that and play with the same energy. What if all of your professional work was you sharing a story and it had the same feel, unless there was a reason that it absolutely shouldn't. Because if you can feel that from the audience's side, they're going to feel it too. So again, it's all about practicing what feels right, what looks natural, what feels natural, what do you want to give to people. And then finally, the ums and the ahs. Here we are. So when you're having a conversation, and when your dynamic is conversational, it's way more natural to have ums and ahs fill in the space. And I totally get what you're saying about either having to tie together thoughts or finish a sentence or finish a thought. Like, how are you going to finish that? And it's a very personal preference on how much permission you give yourself. I'm not here to say, get rid of all the ums and get rid of all the ahs. It's not anybody's place, because again, this is about you sort of just getting to choose which version of yourself you want to be. And it's all about, practicing. I think I think it's good to practice trying to get rid of all the ums and ahs, to see how it feels and to see how it looks. Not every moment, not every video, not every presentation or meeting is gonna need to have all of that policing where you're really conscious of trying to ditch all of the ums and the ahs. I think the moral of the story, it's just a good activity to do and to try and be conscious. Because I notice myself, I'm trying to be conscious of it now. And it actually ties into the first thing you said, which is just becoming less self-conscious. So it's interesting because I feel myself being less self-conscious by trying to focus on being more conscious of the ums. So maybe it's a good self-consciousness, self-awareness rather. So again, no right or wrong, but I think about face-to-face communication. I think about one-to-one communication. And if you are sitting down with someone and you really want them to take in what you're trying to give them, version A that has ums and ahs is its own thing. Version B, where it's just straight from your heart, straight from your mind, with no ums and ahs. But with pauses, it just feels more powerful. So think of it as that. It's a powerful delivery. Whatever, I could talk about this forever. Less self-conscious, that's the name of the game here. Action, do it. You are doing it. You're putting in the time, you're doing the actions. That's what this is all about. I promise you, the repetition and just doing it will erode the self-consciousness. And yes, I think part of the reason BetterOn exists is because there's a self-consciousness attached to this kind of communication and this kind of world we are evolving into. And when we just get cool with it and accept what it is and accept ourselves in that space, a whole new world opens up. So I'm gonna stop blabbing. I hope you're having fun. We got one more week, and I'm loving what I'm seeing. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing the teamwork video, and I will catch you next week. See ya.